I didn't find out my wife cheated because she got distant. I found out because she got too confident. The kind of confidence you only have when you're sure the truth will never reach you. My name is Noah, I'm 29, and my wife Mia is 27. We've been together long enough that our relationship felt like a finished house. Maybe not perfect, but built, solid, lived in. We weren't the couple that fought loudly. We were the couple people described as steady, the kind that makes other people say, "That's what I want someday." Mia was cheerful in a way that filled rooms. She wasn't fake nice, she was genuinely warm. Always remembering birthdays, always checking in on friends, always making people feel included. She laughed easily, hugged often, and somehow managed to turn even boring errands into something light. I'm calmer. Not cold, just stable. I've always believed trust is a decision you make daily, not a prize someone earns once and keeps forever. Mia knew that about me. She used to say it was her favorite thing, how I never made her feel controlled. And for most of our relationship, I thought that trust was the best thing I ever gave her. There was one constant in our marriage that I never questioned. Evan. Evan was her best friend since childhood. Same neighborhood, same school, same friend group. The kind of bond that comes with shared memories and old jokes no one else understands. He was always around, birthdays, holidays, random weekend hangouts. He knew Mia's parents, Mia knew his. They had that we grew up together comfort that looked harmless from the outside. And any time someone even hinted that it was odd, Mia would shut it down immediately. "He's like my brother. We've known each other since we were kids. Don't be weird. There's literally nothing there." I believed her. Why wouldn't I? Evan wasn't flashy. He didn't act like a rival. He wasn't openly flirty or obviously inappropriate. He was present, convenient, familiar. The kind of guy you stop noticing because he's always been in the picture. That's how it starts, I guess. Not with a dramatic stranger, not with a secret romance, with someone already inside your life, already trusted, already welcomed. The first time I felt uneasy wasn't even about Evan directly. It was a pattern, small, almost invisible changes that didn't mean anything individually, but started forming a shape when you stacked them together. Mia began running errands more often. Short trips that took longer than expected, quick coffee that turned into 2 hours, little gaps in the day where she wasn't reachable. When I asked casually, she answered quickly, almost too quickly. "Oh, I ran into Evan. He needed to vent. We just talked. You know he's having a rough time." And then she'd smile like that settled everything. I told myself I was being paranoid. I didn't want to be the guy who questions a friendship that predates our marriage. I didn't want to be insecure. I didn't want to make her feel like she had to choose between me and a lifelong friend. So I stayed calm. I trusted her. The problem is, trust doesn't protect you from being lied to. It just makes you slower to accept that you're being played. A few weeks ago, I brought it up, gently. "Hey," I said, "do you think it's a little much lately, how often you and Evan are hanging out?" Her face changed instantly. Not confusion, not reassurance, anger. "What?" she snapped. "Are you serious right now?" "I'm not accusing you," I said calmly. "I'm just—" "You are accusing me," she cut in, voice rising. "You're implying something disgusting." I remember the word because it felt dramatic for a simple concern. Disgusting. She pushed her chair back and started pacing like I'd insulted her character, not questioned a pattern. "He's my best friend. I can't believe you'd even go there." I stayed quiet, trying to keep the conversation from turning into a fight. But she wasn't interested in calm. She wanted me to back down, to apologize, to feel guilty for noticing. And I did, at first. I said, "Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it like that." Mia softened immediately, like a switch flipped. "Thank you," she said, smiling again. I hate feeling mistrusted. That moment should have relieved me. Instead, it planted a heavier question in my mind. Why did she react like someone with something to hide? I didn't say it out loud. I didn't confront her. I didn't start snooping. I just paid attention. Because when a cheerful, kind person suddenly becomes defensive and furious over a simple question, it's usually not about the question. It's about what the question threatens to expose. After that first fight, I expected Mia to pull back a little, if only to prove me wrong. Instead, she got better at being believable. And that's what scared me. The next day, she was cheerful again, like nothing happened. She made coffee, kissed my cheek, asked about my plans, joked about how my worry brain sometimes runs wild. The warmth was real enough that I almost convinced myself I'd imagined the whole tension. Almost. But then she added one line, soft, casual, disguised as affection. Let's not do the jealousy thing, okay? We're better than that. Jealousy thing. Not concerns, not communication. She labeled it immediately, boxed it up, and slid it across the table like a bill she expected me to pay. I nodded. Sure. Not because I agreed, because I wanted to see what she did next. For about a week, everything looked normal again. Evan stayed in the background. Mia's mood was light. She laughed with the kids in the park, sent me memes during the day, asked if I wanted to plan a weekend trip. It felt like the universe giving me a second chance to be the trusting husband I'd always been. Then the new pattern started. It wasn't more time with Evan, it was more privacy around Evan. Mia began taking calls in the hallway. She'd step outside to answer messages. She'd angle her phone away in a way that wasn't dramatic, just practiced. One evening, I walked into the kitchen and she ended a call instantly. "Evan?" I asked, like it was nothing. Her smile was too bright. "Yeah, he's just stressed." "What about?" "Life." She waved a hand like that covered it. "You know how he gets." I did know how he got. Evan had always been a little messy. Big feelings, small plans, dramatic highs and lows. Mia used to tease him about it. She used to roll her eyes and say, he's basically a golden retriever in human form. Now she sounded protective. I didn't challenge it. I just said, okay. Later that night, she brought him up again for no reason. "I feel bad for Evan," she said, scrolling on her phone. "He doesn't really have anyone." I kept my tone neutral. "He has you." She looked up quickly, eyes sharp for half a second. Then she laughed like I'd made a cute joke. "That's not what I meant." But she didn't explain what she did mean. That week, Evan started showing up more, subtly. Little overlap moments Mia framed as coincidence. Oh, Evan was at the grocery store too. Evan was near my work. Evan was in the neighborhood and dropped something off. Always justifiable, always harmless, always with a smile, like I should be proud she had such a loyal friend. Then came the first thing I couldn't ignore. A Saturday morning, Mia said she was meeting her friend Lily for coffee. She even showed me the cafe on her phone like she was presenting evidence before I asked for it. "Want anything?" she said brightly. "Just come back safe," I replied. She left. An hour later, I got a text from Lily. Not a warning, not dramatic, just casual. "Hey, are you guys still coming over tomorrow? Mia hasn't answered my messages. Just want to make sure nothing changed." My stomach tightened. Because if Mia was with Lily, Lily wouldn't be texting me. I didn't reply right away. I didn't call Mia. I just waited 15 minutes, then sent a simple message. "Yeah, still planning on it. She's out right now." Then texted Mia. "Hope coffee's good. Say hi to Lily." No response. 30 minutes passed. Then she replied, "LOL, we're not with Lily. Plans changed. Don't start." Don't start. That phrase wasn't for information. It was for control. A leash made of words. I kept it calm. "Okay, where are you?" She read it and didn't answer. She came home 2 hours later, cheerful again, holding a pastry box like a peace offering. "Here," she said, smiling, "I got your favorite." I didn't touch it. "Where were you?" I asked, still calm, still gentle. Her face hardened instantly. "With Evan," she said, like it was obvious and I was ridiculous for asking. "You told me Lily," I said. "So," she snapped, "plans changed. Do you want me to report every time I breathe?" I held my tone steady. "No, I want honesty." She laughed, short, sharp. "You're obsessed," she said. "This is exactly why I didn't want to tell you. You make it weird." That was the first time she said it outright. She didn't tell me because of my reaction. Not because she forgot, not because it was random, because she chose secrecy. And in that moment, I realized something important. This wasn't just about Evan. This was about Mia learning where the line was and stepping over it while blaming me for noticing. I didn't shout. I didn't accuse her of anything physical or explicit. I didn't even say cheating. I just said, "I'm not doing this version of reality. Either we talk honestly or we don't talk." She stared at me like I'd spoken a different language. Then she smiled, too sweet, too quick, and said, "Fine, we'll talk, but you need to promise you won't be dramatic." And that was the click in my head. Because the person doing something wrong is usually the first one to warn you not to be dramatic. The more I stayed calm, the kinder she looked to everyone else, and the colder she became with me behind closed doors. After our conversation about honesty, Mia became flawless. Not loving, not apologetic, flawless. In public, she was the same cheerful, kind woman everyone adored. She laughed easily, touched my arm when she spoke, told stories that made people smile. If anyone watched us from the outside, they'd see a couple completely at ease. And that was the point. At home, though, something had changed. Not dramatically, just enough to feel deliberate. She stopped asking how my day was, stopped sitting next to me on the couch. Conversations became efficient, transactional. If I tried to bring up anything emotional, she'd tilt her head and give me that soft, practiced smile. "You're reading too much into things," she'd say. "Why can't you just trust me? You're exhausting yourself for no reason." She said it gently, kindly, like she was worried about me. That kindness felt sharper than anger. Evan's presence became normalized, not hidden, but reframed. She'd mention him casually, like background noise. "Evan said this reminded us of us as kids. Evan thinks I should switch jobs. Evan agrees with me." Agreeing with her had become his role, reinforcing, supporting, echoing. I noticed how often she referenced him when we disagreed, not to compare us, but to validate herself. One evening, we were making dinner. She was chopping vegetables, humming, phone propped up against a jar. A message came in, and she smiled before she realized I was watching. That smile wasn't friendly. It was private. I didn't say anything. I didn't change my expression. I just turned back to the stove. A few minutes later, she noticed my silence. "What?" she asked lightly. "Nothing," I said. She watched me closely after that, like she was recalibrating. Later that night, she picked a fight. Not about Evan. About something meaningless. Laundry, I think. Or the way I'd loaded the dishwasher. It didn't matter. What mattered was how fast it escalated. "You're so passive-aggressive lately," she snapped. "I'm not," I replied. "You are. You don't say what you mean, you just brood." That accusation almost made me laugh. I wasn't brooding. I was processing. "You said you wanted honesty," I said calmly, "so I'm being honest with myself." That set her off. She slammed the cabinet shut. "There it is. You're acting like I've done something wrong." I met her eyes. "Have you?" The room went still. For a moment, just one, I thought she might finally tell the truth. Instead, her face hardened. "I can't believe you'd ask me that," she said coldly, "after everything I do for you. For us. She walked out of the kitchen. That was the night I stopped doubting myself. Not because I had proof of anything physical yet, but because of how aggressively she protected the lie. How every question turned into an attack on her. How every boundary I tried to draw became evidence of my supposed insecurity. Cheerful people don't lose their warmth that fast unless something is being defended. A few days later, we went to a friend's birthday dinner. Evan was there. He hugged Mia a little too long. Not enough for anyone else to notice, but enough for me to feel it. He didn't look at me when he did it. During dinner, they shared inside jokes, spoke in shorthand, finished each other's sentences. Mia laughed freely, easily. She hadn't laughed like that with me in weeks. I watched her carefully, not with anger, not with jealousy, but with clarity. This wasn't a friendship drifting into something inappropriate. This was a connection already alive, already fed, already protected. And I was the only one being asked to pretend it didn't exist. When we got home, she was in a great mood. "That was fun," she said brightly. "You seemed quiet." "I was observing," I replied. She frowned. "Observing what?" I looked at her and said the most honest thing I could without accusing her of something she wasn't ready to admit yet. "I don't feel like your person anymore." Her smile vanished instantly. "That's ridiculous," she snapped. "You're imagining things." Maybe, but deep down I knew something important had already happened. She had chosen him emotionally. The rest was just timing. I didn't catch her cheating by reading messages. I caught her because she told a lie that didn't need to be told and panicked when I didn't believe it. After that dinner, something shifted permanently. Not outwardly. Mia stayed cheerful, kind, thoughtful in front of others, but with me, the warmth was gone. Not replaced with hostility, replaced with distance disguised as politeness. We started moving around each other like co-workers who didn't want to start trouble. Evan, meanwhile, became a constant reference point in our marriage. Not physically present, but psychologically embedded. He said I should stand up for myself more. He thinks I'm being too hard on myself. He agrees that you overthink things. She wasn't comparing us, she was triangulating, and she did it with a smile. The moment that finally broke the illusion happened on a Tuesday evening, ordinary enough that I almost missed it. Mia told me she was meeting Evan to help him with something work-related. She said it casually, like it was nothing worth reacting to. I nodded. Okay. She paused, watching me carefully. "You're fine with that?" "Yes," I said honestly. "I'm fine." That wasn't the answer she expected. People who are lying don't want permission. They want resistance they can defeat. My calm left her without a script. She left an hour later. 2 hours passed, then 3. I wasn't tracking her. I wasn't checking anything. I was sitting in the living room, reading, when my phone buzzed. A message from Mia. "Hey, we're grabbing food. Might be late." That line stopped me. Not because she was with Evan, but because of the wording. We're. She hadn't needed to tell me that. She could have said I. She could have kept it vague. But instead, she volunteered information, then immediately tried to minimize it with "might be late." That's not transparency. That's control. I didn't reply. An hour later, another message. "Why aren't you answering? Are you upset?" There it was. The trap. If I said yes, I'd be jealous. If I said no, she'd feel validated. I chose neither. "I'm not upset," I replied. "Just processing." She came home close to midnight, still cheerful, carrying leftovers she didn't offer me. "You're being weird," she said lightly. "You know nothing happened, right?" I looked at her for a long moment. "I didn't say anything happened," I replied. Her face tightened instantly. "But you're thinking it," she snapped. No, I said calmly. I'm noticing how defensive you are over things I haven't accused you of. That cracked something. She laughed, too loud, too sharp. You're unbelievable, she said. I can't even have a friend without you turning it into something ugly. I kept my voice steady. You can. I just don't understand why you're angry at me for trusting you. Silence. Real silence. For the first time, she didn't have a comeback ready. She turned away, muttering, "This is exhausting." That was the tell. Not guilt, not shame. Fatigue. The fatigue of someone maintaining a lie too long. She went to bed without saying goodnight. I stayed on the couch, staring at the wall, realizing something quietly devastating. I didn't need screenshots. I didn't need confessions. I didn't need to catch them in the act, because the truth wasn't hidden anymore. It was being protected. And when someone protects something that fiercely, it's because losing it would cost them more than losing your trust. That night, I stopped asking myself if she was cheating. I started asking how long, and whether she thought I'd ever stop being calm enough to see it clearly. The day I stopped asking questions was the day she started volunteering answers I never requested. After that night, I made a decision. Not a dramatic one, not even a conscious one at first. I stopped trying to resolve the tension. I stopped hoping for clarity through conversation. I stopped treating honesty like something I had to earn from her by being patient enough. Instead, I watched what happened when I withdrew just a little. Mia noticed immediately. She began explaining things before I asked. Small, unnecessary details offered with a brightness that felt rehearsed. Evan called earlier, but it was nothing important. I'm meeting him tomorrow, but only for a quick walk. He's really struggling lately, you know? Each sentence ended with a soft look, like she was waiting for approval, not permission, validation. She wanted me to confirm that this version of reality still worked. I didn't argue. I didn't approve either. I said, "Okay." That word seemed to unsettle her more than any accusation could have. Her cheerfulness started cracking at the edges. The kindness became conditional. If I didn't respond the right way, she'd go cold. If I stayed neutral, she'd accuse me of being distant. If I tried to connect, she'd deflect. There was no winning configuration anymore. One afternoon, she said something that finally reframed everything for me. "You used to trust me," she said, not angrily, almost sadly. "I still do, I just don't ignore patterns." Her face hardened. "That's not trust," she snapped. "That's suspicion." "No," I said calmly. "Suspicion is when you invent things. Patterns are when the same behavior keeps repeating." She stood up abruptly, chair scraping the floor. "You're making this into something it isn't. I'm tired of defending myself." That sentence hit me harder than anything else she'd said, because she was defending herself against things I hadn't accused her of. That's when I understood the shift. Trust, something I'd given freely for years, had become a tool she used to control the narrative. If I trusted her, I wasn't allowed to question. If I questioned, I was betraying the trust she claimed to value. It was a trap dressed up as virtue. Around this time, Evan stopped being mentioned accidentally. He became intentional. She talked about him like he was a constant presence in her emotional life. "He really gets me. He listens without judging. He remembers things. Things I used to do." Things she no longer acknowledged. I didn't confront her with comparisons. I didn't ask her to choose. I didn't give ultimatums. I just took a mental step back. And from that distance, I saw something clearly. She wasn't choosing between me and Evan. She was choosing the version of herself that didn't have to answer hard questions. And that version didn't include a husband who noticed when kindness turned into deflection and trust was used as leverage. One night, lying in bed beside her, listening to her breathe, I felt something quietly settle in my chest. It wasn't anger. It wasn't heartbreak. It was acceptance, the kind that arrives not with tears, but with clarity. I realized then that I wasn't waiting for proof anymore. I was waiting for the moment when pretending became more painful than the truth. And that moment was getting closer. I didn't catch her cheating when she disappeared. I caught her when she got angry at a question I hadn't even finished asking. By this point, I had stopped trying to fix anything. That alone changed the dynamic more than I expected. When you stop chasing reassurance, the person hiding something starts to feel exposed. Mia sensed it immediately. My calm wasn't comforting anymore. It was threatening. I wasn't reacting the way she needed me to react. I wasn't playing my role. And that's when her kindness started slipping in ways she couldn't control. It happened on a Friday night. She said she was meeting Evan just to talk. She added quickly, "I'll be back early." No one had asked. I nodded. "Okay." She lingered by the door, keys in hand, watching my face. "That's it?" she asked. "You don't have anything to say?" I met her eyes. "Do you want me to?" For a split second, she looked startled, like she'd walked into a room and found the furniture rearranged. "No," she sharply. "I just don't understand why you're being so detached." I didn't argue. "Have a good night." She left, irritated. I sat alone in the house, not waiting, not counting time, just sitting with the growing certainty that whatever was happening between them was no longer subtle. It didn't need to be. She'd already moved him into the emotional space where honesty with me used to live. She came home later than she said she would. She didn't sneak in. She came in loud, dropped her bag, kicked off her shoes, not drunk, not guilty in the obvious sense, just charged, like someone coming off a high. "You're still up?" she asked. "Yes," I replied. She scoffed. "Of course you are." That comment landed wrong. I turned toward her. "Why are you angry at me?" That was the question. Not where were you, not who were you with. Why are you angry at me? Her face hardened instantly. "I'm not angry," she snapped. "I'm frustrated because you keep acting like I've done something wrong." I stayed calm. "Then why does this feel like a fight?" She threw her bag onto the chair. "Because you're judging me," she said. "You look at me like you already decided something." I nodded slowly. "Maybe I have." That's when she lost control. "You're unbelievable," she said, voice rising. "You've always been like this, quiet, superior, acting like you're above emotions." I didn't raise my voice. "That's not true." "It is," she shot back. "You make people feel guilty just by being calm. You think you're better than me." There it was. Not denial, not reassurance, projection. I looked at her and said something I hadn't planned to say. "I don't think I'm better than you. I think I'm being lied to." Silence. Heavy. Absolute. Her eyes flicked away first. "How dare you," she whispered, "after everything we've been through." That sentence sealed it. Not, "I haven't lied." Not, "You're wrong." Just, "How dare you question me?" She stormed into the bedroom and slammed the door. I stayed on the couch, heart steady, mind clear in a way it hadn't been before. Because now I understood something fundamental. She wasn't angry because I suspected her. She was angry because I was no longer confused. And once confusion is gone, lies don't have anywhere to hide. That night, I slept on the couch, not out of protest, but because I didn't want to share space with someone who saw my calm as a threat. In the quiet, one truth settled completely. She wasn't going to stop, and she wasn't going to tell me the truth unless it served her. So if this was going to end, it wouldn't end with her confession. It would end with my decision. She didn't confess when I questioned her. She didn't confess when I pulled away. She confessed only when the lie became harder to hold than the truth. After that night, something in Mia shifted, not toward honesty, toward caution. She became quieter around me, less confrontational, almost gentle again, but not the warm kind of gentle she used to be. This was strategic, like someone carefully stepping around a cracked floor, hoping it wouldn't give way if they didn't put their weight on it. Evan disappeared from conversation entirely. Not a word, not a mention, not even a casual reference. That silence told me more than her defensiveness ever had. People don't stop talking about something harmless, they stop talking about something dangerous. A few days later, Mia said she was going out with coworkers after work. She didn't say who. She didn't volunteer details. She didn't ask if I was okay with it. She just grabbed her coat and smiled. "I'll be late," she said. I nodded. "Okay?" She hesitated at the door. "You're not going to ask where?" she said. I met her eyes. "Do you want me to?" Her smile flickered. "No," she said quickly. "That's fine." She left. This time, I didn't wait up. I went to bed. I slept deeply, for the first time in weeks. When she came home, it was close to 2 a.m. I woke briefly to the sound of her moving quietly through the house, trying not to be heard. That attempt mattered. The next morning she was subdued, careful. She made breakfast without speaking much, avoiding my eyes. When I finally asked how her night was, she answered too quickly. "Fine, just drinks." I nodded. Then I said, calmly, Evan was there. Her fork stopped mid-air. For a moment, she didn't breathe. "How do you know that?" she asked. "I didn't say he did anything," I replied. "I just said he was there." Her face drained of color. "That doesn't mean anything," she said immediately. "Other people were there too." I waited. She kept talking, fast now, tripping over explanations she hadn't prepared. "We didn't even sit together. It was loud. It was stupid. Why are you doing this?" I stayed calm. "I'm not doing anything. I'm listening." That was when it happened. She laughed. Not kindly, not nervously, bitterly. "You're really going to throw away our marriage over a friendship?" she said. "After everything?" I tilted my head slightly. "You keep calling it a friendship. Why does it need so much defending?" Her mouth opened, closed, opened again, and then the words came out, not planned, not polished. "It just happened," she said quietly. The room went still. She stared at the floor like she'd just realized what she'd said. "What happened?" I asked softly. She didn't answer. I waited. Her shoulders sagged. The cheerfulness, the kindness, the practiced warmth, it all collapsed at once. "I didn't mean for it to go this far," she whispered. "We were just talking. Then it wasn't just talking." I didn't interrupt. "It wasn't planned, I swear. I never thought it would happen." I nodded slowly. "How long?" I asked. She didn't answer right away. That pause told me everything. "A while," she said, finally. A while. Years of trust reduced to 2 words. She looked up at me then, eyes wide with fear, not of losing me, but of losing the version of herself who could still say nothing ever happened. "I was going to tell you," she said. I believed her. Eventually, but not before she got caught. I stood up slowly. "Thank you for finally being honest," I said. She looked relieved for half a second. Then she saw my expression. "And now?" she asked. I met her gaze. "Now," I said, "we stop pretending." She finally told the truth, but only the version that made her feel forgivable. After that night, Mia didn't beg. That surprised me. Instead, she shifted into something quieter and more controlled, like she'd accepted that the lie was over, but not that the consequences were settled. The next morning, she acted calm, almost gentle again. She made coffee, asked how I slept, spoke like we were entering a difficult but mature phase of our marriage. "I want to explain," she said softly, "so you understand." I nodded. "Go ahead." What followed wasn't a confession. It was a reframe. She talked about childhood bonds, about emotional closeness, about how Evan had always understood her in ways no one else could. She emphasized how gradual it was, how unintentional, how confusing. "It wasn't about choosing him over you," she said. "It just crossed a line before I realized it." I noticed what she didn't say. She didn't say she lied to me. She didn't say she got angry to shut me up. She didn't say she made me feel unreasonable for noticing patterns. Instead, she positioned herself as someone things happened to. I listened without interrupting. When she finished, she looked at me with cautious hope, like the hardest part was done. "I know this hurts," she said, "but I think we can work through it." I asked one question. "Did you ever plan to tell me if I hadn't asked?" She froze. That pause again. "I don't know," she said finally. "I was scared." Scared. Not of hurting me, of losing comfort, of disrupting a life that worked as long as I stayed quiet. I realized then that the affair wasn't the biggest betrayal. The biggest betrayal was how carefully she managed my ignorance. Over the next few days, Evan vanished. No more messages, no more mentions, no more concern for his rough time. She told me she'd cut him off completely, like it was a grand sacrifice instead of the bare minimum. "He understands," she said. "He feels terrible." I didn't ask what he felt. I was watching her. She expected gratitude, relief, closure. What she got was distance, not coldness, clarity. I stopped engaging emotionally. I spoke politely, calmly. We discussed logistics. We talked about schedules, responsibilities, the house, all the things that survive after love exits the room. She noticed. "You're shutting me out," she said one night. "No," I replied. "I'm being honest about where I am." "And where is that?" she asked. I looked at her carefully. "Somewhere past the point where explanations help." That hurt her. I could see it. Because explanations were the last thing she had control over. I started preparing quietly, not dramatically, not angrily, just methodically, sorting finances, making plans, thinking about what life would look like on the other side of this marriage. She tried kindness again, extra affection, nostalgia, talking about old memories like they were anchors. But memories don't repair trust. They just remind you what you lost. And what I'd lost wasn't just faithfulness. I'd lost the sense that my partner respected my ability to see reality. Once that's gone, love doesn't survive. It lingers, but it doesn't grow. I didn't tell her yet what I'd decided, but she could feel it, and that made her nervous in a way honesty never had. Because now the ending wasn't in her hands anymore. She cried then, not dramatically, just quietly, tears slipping down her face as the reality settled in. I didn't comfort her, not because I lacked compassion, but because comforting her would have been another way of protecting her from consequences. We separated quietly, no shouting, no blame games, just logistics and distance. Evan stayed gone. Not because of remorse, but because he no longer mattered.
In the weeks that followed, I felt grief, but not regret. I missed the version of her I thought I was married to. I mourned the future I believed in. But I also felt something steady underneath it all. Self-respect. I didn't lose myself trying to prove the truth. I didn't beg. I didn't explode. I didn't let betrayal turn me into someone bitter or cruel. I trusted. I noticed. I chose clarity. And when the moment came, I walked away calmly, knowing that love without honesty isn't love at all. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do isn't fighting for someone. It's accepting who they've shown you they are and choosing yourself anyway.